Okay, using a pendulum to get a straightforward answer to a yes or no question, or a question between two very distinct options, is the way that most people use pendulums. The first thing to do is sort of work out what signals you're going to get from your pendulum. So the first thing to do is to ask your pendulum for a sign for yes and a sign for no. Okay. So we're just going to start by doing that. Can I have a sign for yes? Okay, you can see quite clearly there that the sign for yes I'm getting from this pendulum is it swinging in a back and forwards motion. This is probably the most common one as well that most people get, and as you'll see when we move on to working with the maths, they're kind of designed around this assumption as well. I'm just going to ask the pendulum to stop. Okay. We can have a sign for no. Okay, and as you can see there quite clearly, the sign for no that I'm getting for this pendulum is it swinging from side to side. Again, this is probably the most common response that you get for a pendulum regarding this. But when you first start working with your pendulums, the best thing to do is to ask them the questions that obviously you know the answer to, just so you can gauge how you're working with it. Obviously, the main point is to make sure you're not moving your hand. You don't worry if it shakes a little bit, because if you're holding your hand still for a while it will, but just try and clear your head and just focus purely on the question that you're asking rather than what the pendulum is doing. Stay focused on the question and then look at the pendulum. Okay, rather than sitting glaring at it. Okay, so close your eyes if it helps, just to make sure that you're focused on the question rather than what the pendulum is actually starting to do. Okay. I'm going to ask this very simple question. Do I like chocolate? And as you can see there, I'm getting a back and forward motion. But yes, obviously I like chocolate. Who doesn't? Okay. I'm going to wait for it to start, but I'm going to ask it a question that I obviously know the answer is no to. Okay. Trying to think of a question. Okay. Am I likely to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning tomorrow and go jogging? Yeah, no, obviously, no, I'm not. That's quite right. As you can see, it takes a little while for the pendulum to actually start to build. It's going now to start to build sort of really big, clear signs. Obviously, I'm trying to speed things up a little bit so you're not staring at me for minutes and minutes on end. But give it a little while between the questions. It's not instantaneous. Sit and run the question over and over in your head a little bit, and wait for the response. This pendulum is probably moving slower for me than a lot of my older ones do, because it's a dizzy one and it's easier to fit into the camera frame, and it's not one I use very often. You will find the more and more you work with the tool, the better your response, the response you get from it is, and the stronger that response is.